So the majority of finance leaders that I've been speaking to are really, really keen to grow and develop their peer network. But I've often found that either they don't make the time or they haven't found the best forum to do it, which is why I decided to set up this very simple LinkedIn group. And I think the COVID-19 crisis seems like as good a time as any to encourage people to be speaking to each other. So what I thought I'd try next was a series of short interviews with finance leaders to bring some of the challenges and experiences and wisdom to life. And Vicky Ferrier has kindly volunteered to be first up. Hi, Vicky.
Hi, Kirsty. Thank you for having me first. Feel very honoured.
Thank you for volunteering. Let's see if we can do this in one take. And from a number of our talks in the pub and enjoying brunch together, I know you're really passionate about leadership development and you're fascinated with people and culture.
Mm-hmm.
And Vicky started her career in finance, working for Procter & Gamble, before becoming Group Head of Investor Relations and Comms at Weir Group. And she's been the Finance Director at Boots, and you're currently Director of Finance Capability for an online retail business with about a finance team of 120?
Yep, that's right.
Brilliant. So why don't we kick off by you just letting us know, how is this current crisis affecting you?
Yeah. So, God, I was 6 weeks into this new role when the lockdown happened. So I guess for me, I've been self-employed for the last 6 years since I left Boots. So in some ways, it's kind of like going back to how it was before. A little bit of mourning, I have to say, for the 6 weeks I did have at Ferrier Group, which is a digital online e-commerce retailer. Because I just literally got into getting to grips with the business, getting to grips with the function, building relationships, and of course now I've kind of got to do that virtually. But thankfully, the business is still very much committed to the agenda of culture and people. So I'm just grateful that I've still got a job, to be honest, in some ways, like all of us. The other work I do, because I've gone into Ferrier as a sort of in an interim role, and the other work I do outside of that is with leaders in the NHS. So of course that work's completely gone on hold. I don't know when it'll come back. At the moment we've pushed everything forward by 3 months, but whether we'll be able to deliver in 3 months' time or not. And that's all leadership development programs for execs in the NHS. So yeah, so it's kind of affected me income-wise massively. Thankfully, not from a health point of view. I don't know anybody who's been affected health-wise, and I've got a family that I actually like, a husband that I like, a house that I like. So, you know, thankfully, it's probably the best it could possibly be given the crisis we're in.
So you're still continuing this Director of Finance Capability then at the minute?
Yes.
And what's in that role? What's keeping you awake just now?
Well, I mean, some of the basic things, like we're all facing. So I had a kind of program for the senior management team. So there's about 25 people in the senior management team, and it intended to be a kind of every second week, a sort of a couple of hours where we all came together and had sort of a leadership program, but done in these small kind of 2 hour little, I was calling them vitamins, little bite sizes. But now that's had to be translated to online, and did my first session with the guys this morning. Decided immediately to split them into 2 because 24, 25 is too many, and screwed up on the technology, you know, set it up as a Microsoft Teams live event, and that wasn't the right way to set it up, you know. So it's kind of like a lot of the technology issues I think we're all facing. But more than the technology, it's like the ability to really connect with people. And how do you just facilitate a group of people when you've got this, you know, Zoom or Skype or Teams, where people are talking over each other, and you know, what's the etiquette, you know, kind of putting your hand up to speak, or, you know, just all these kind of little things. I wouldn't say that's necessarily keeping me awake at night. What I would say is keeping me awake at night is more just how do I continue to really add value within that, given that a lot of what I was doing a lot of one-to-one coaching with people. I'm not able to do that anymore, obviously, in the same way, but I can do it online. How do I connect into the people team? Because I'm sort of jointly reporting into the CFO and the chief people officer, whilst everybody's involved in a bit of a kind of crisis management, warehouse and distribution, all that kind of stuff that's online retailers affected by. So I think it's first world problems, to be honest, compared to a lot of people. It's just really about delivering what I need to deliver, what I've committed to deliver to the business.
But it's interesting, actually, because the leadership team that you've been working with and that you've been brought in to develop, I've been reading a lot about what are people going to be doing at home if they can't quite do as much of the day-to-day job. Now, they might be doing the day-to-day job as well, but in terms of them trying to develop as people, I mean, is that still on their agenda at the moment? Is that still a priority? Or really are they just thinking, crikey, I've got to deal with X, Y, and Z. I'm not thinking about my own development right now?
Yeah, I think it's a mix. I think there's some people who are really in finance are really caught up. Like today is kind of period end, third quarter, period 9, really important quarter, obviously. So they're really grappling with the systems challenges of being at home and working on, systems to deliver forecasts and actuals. I think there's other people who are exactly thinking, you know what, I have got extra time because I've not got the commute. There's a whole bunch of meetings we're not all going to anymore. And so how can I think about my development? So there's been a handful of those have approached me to have a conversation about that. I think there's also another thing that's really interesting about the reflection time that people have. So I've been working with the commercial team and kind of getting them to really think, okay, so you've got all these moans and gripes about how the systems work or how the relationship with the business are not being necessarily the greatest business partners or whatever their gripes are. And okay, so what would you do? We're almost like going to have a blank slate of blank piece of paper when we get back to normality, whatever that is, on the other side of this. So what does the ideal look like? And so that's been really interesting. And a lot of people are really kind of getting really behind that, thinking, yeah, okay, I've got this time, which is good. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I reckon we could do a whole different Zoom drop-in on that topic alone about development or how people are using this time and if it's a priority. And I'll note that down.
Do that in a few weeks' time.
Exactly. So what would you say has been your biggest learn since the COVID-19 outbreak?
Cash. How important it is for businesses to have cash at the centre of everything that they do. I think it's really, really easy to not have it. And it's just obviously those businesses that have got a bit of a buffer are going to be more able to ride the wave of it, ride the crisis than others. And I think the way that the business is structured at Ferrier has been very much cash. It's been kind of very much the sort of domain of the treasury team. And the rest of finance hasn't had a great appreciation of kind of the translation of demand into sales, into profit, into cash. And I mean, that's even less knowledge, that knowledge is less existent across the broader business. So I think we're all getting a really good education on cash. Some daily cash meeting at 4:00 every single day, looking at that, which is fantastic because it's given the finance function a much greater sort of reason for being, I would say, and just a greater appreciation of the kind of economic drivers of the business. I think it's sometimes really easy to bullshit yourself in finance, and to kind of talk at that top line or profit level or market share or whatever. But cash is king. I think we all know that fundamentally in finance, but I think this is really, really highlighted for me, like in a just way I've never experienced in any business I've been in before, any period I've ever been in my career before, how important cash is. So yeah, it's interesting.
It is. And if I was to hand you a crystal ball right now, and ask you, right, look into this crystal ball, what do you think will be different in the business world or the finance world when we are through the other side of this?
I think well, in the business I'm working in, I think that kind of conversation about cash and the kind of what's the real story? People having a much better appreciation of the story of the business. You know, as businesses are seeking to make tougher choices through this, we're all going to have a better appreciation of how the various different component parts of the kind of value creation model all join up together. So I think that's a good thing, and I think that'll flow through businesses, and it won't just be their domain of finance. I think those businesses who were already on a real kind of culture and people and purpose path, I think there's going to be a lot more businesses trying to get down that path. I think everybody was kind of starting to get on that bandwagon in the last year or two. But I think there'll be more of that, because I think, as we've seen, you know, some of the businesses that have maybe like the Weatherspoons of this world, or obviously Sports Direct were caught out as well, you know, businesses that have not necessarily put people first. I wonder, it's just a wonder, but how will that kind of translate into consumer behavior post this as well, in terms of the corporate reputation, which is something I'm super interested in. It's how I got into this stuff in the first place, just like value in that corporate reputation. So, of course, home working, you know, I think people are recognizing that not only is it possible for large swathes of the population, the working population, to work from home, but also that we can trust people to do their work at home. I think that's one other thing. So I think that's quite exciting for people who, you know, obviously people that have got dependents, children, etc., but also all of us who just kind of want to work in a different way. You know, the whole, you know, 4-hour work week or 4-day work week, you know, whatever spectrum you're at the end of, you know, that's been talked a lot about in tech sectors, but I think it's going to accelerate that kind of thing. And hopefully just general more kind of kindness in business. That would be nice.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
And just to finish off today, I mean, what piece of wisdom or words of positivity would you like to share with your peers that are hopefully going to take the time and listen to this sort of short chat of ours?
I think, you know, the toughest period in my career was when I was head of investor relations at the Weir Group. And someone really wise said to me, how can you think about this period as happening for you and not to you? I really hold that. I've always held that. So I don't think it's being kind of Pollyanna or overly reframing, but I think there is some wisdom in saying, what is the for us in this current situation? You know, I think there is something that we've all been craving around slowing down. I mean, I travel incessantly. It's been fantastic. You know, in many ways, what I've got in my life right now is precisely what I asked for a few months ago. You know, like a lot less travel and doing work that's really on purpose for me. Spending more time with the family. I think it might all wear a bit thin. I think that's the thing in the next couple of weeks. I think our humor is going to be really tested around this. But I don't know, that's something I hold anyway. Just how can we think this is happening for us and not to us? Just gives us a sense of agency.
Yeah, and that's a great thought to leave everyone with. Thank you, by the way, for being so open and honest.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you, Kirsty. If we can do, I could talk all day. So
I don't know, there's a lot, even within what you've said, there's a lot now we could pick, you know, topics from that to discuss. So I think watch this space, we'll be doing something else and we'll hopefully continue the conversation and people will
want. Yeah, definitely. I look forward to hearing the other guys' ones as well. It'd be really interesting to see how this group evolves. So thank you.
Thank you very much. See you later.